Hey, this is a really interesting story. There is a new report, CNN and others reporting that Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are now distanced and maybe even estranged from former President Donald Trump because of his complete inability to move on from having lost the 2020 election. CNN reports with each passing day away from Washington, former President Trump's grievances continue unabated. And those complaints appear to be driving away two of the people who were closest to him during his White House tenure, his daughter, Ivanka Trump, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Going on to say, a large part of the reason for the separation is Trump's constant harping on the past and his inability to move on. The former president has also started to question the role that Kushner, one of the few people who were able to stay close to Trump throughout his two presidential campaigns and White House tenure, has played in his presidential legacy. Ivanka Trump has also struggled to undo the entanglements caused by the years at her father's side in the White House as she seeks a less complicated life for her family, according to two acquaintances. That seems like a reference to the complete disaster that was Ivanka and Jared trying to reintegrate themselves into New York City life and being shunned. They described her as having to walk a fine line between embracing her father and distancing herself from the election lies. One club goer at Mar-a-Lago and family friends said they weren't around for the usual spring and summer events at Mar-a-Lago, noting the absence of Trump's elder daughter and the couple's three young children. Simultaneously, the disappearance of Kushner, once the ringleader of Trump's policy, was also apparent. A person familiar with Kushner says there were visits from the Kushner-Trump family to Mar-a-Lago long before Trump's move north, but they were sparse, averaging one every 3 to 4 weeks. The physical distance between them was not far because Kushner and Ivanka were living in Miami, awaiting the construction of their mansion on a nearby private island. Kushner's presence physically and virtually has become increasingly rare as it became clear that his father-in-law remained preoccupied with the 2020 election, according to one person familiar with the situation. This is not hugely surprising to me. It became clear in the late days of the Trump administration that, in particular, Jared and Ivanka, and especially Ivanka, were realizing that the reintegration was not going to go super smoothly. There were reports about their being shunned by the high society circles in which they previously ran. And this is not, I don't feel bad for them. I don't care. They chose this. Tiffany Trump, for example, stayed out of the limelight, and I'm aware of her having many left-wing friends, and she sort of goes in different circles and is not being shunned in the same way, although her role at the Republican National Convention was pretty disgusting. Don Jr. and Eric are fully bought in to continuing the sycophantic brown nosing. You see them regularly on Fox News and Newsmax and on other programs. So they've kind of staked out that position in the aftermath of the Trump administration. Ivanka and Jared, and in particular Ivanka, have removed themselves from politics, but they were so visible and so involved during this administration that now people are saying, we don't like you. Before we accepted you and you were less overtly political and at least you weren't actively going around as Republicans. Remember, Trump was a Democrat much of his life. So whether we liked you or not, they were kind of tolerated in these high society circles in Manhattan and Los Angeles, Miami, et cetera. But they're now in a sense tainted. But and Kushner, just disastrous participation. Remember, it's our stockpile. It's not their stockpile, that entire thing. He's doing masks, he's doing Schwab's and all of this stuff. It's become so humiliating and so embarrassing that now they are having trouble reintegrating into society. That's their choice. But the estrangement from Donald Trump is very interesting. And the political connection is a very narrow one, which we'll mention briefly. One question about Trump 2024 is, what will Trump's health be like then? Second question about Trump 2024 is, will he still have the bulk of the Republican Party behind him? Third question about 2024 is, will Trump's favorites win in 22? And if they don't, does that hurt his chances? But there's another question here, which is, if there is a Trump 2024 run, does he have the same coalition of his family strongly supporting him? Because for not all, but for many of these right wingers, particularly the evangelicals, They had to be lied. Well, they all were lied to, but the evangelicals specifically had to be lied to about, oh, Trump's pro-life now. He's been pro-choice his whole life. Suddenly, 6 months before running for president, he's pro-life. The evangelicals had to be sold that bill of goods. And similarly, Trump as a family man with his children all around him, even though the cheating, the divorce, all this different stuff, but it doesn't matter. They were able to ignore it. But the family unit around Trump was a big piece for some of those evangelicals, along with the lies about abortion and other things, in them ultimately coming around to him. Without that, does Trump have the same cachet for some of these religious rightists if the family is not around him? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's something we will know before too long. One of our sponsors is Curiosity Stream, giving my audience 25% off. I love documentaries. If you love them, you really have to have Curiosity Stream, the streaming service offering thousands of documentaries from some of the world's best filmmakers. It's like Netflix, but just for documentaries. I've been watching it nonstop. Curiosity Stream has an app for your TV, phone, tablet, Roku, game console. I recently watched The Secret Lives of Sharks. Fascinating stuff. I've noticed Curiosity Stream always has the biggest and newest documentary titles, including stuff you will not find on other streaming services. They're regularly adding new documentaries to the lineup. You're not going to run out of good stuff to watch. When you go to curiositystream.com/Pakman, you'll get unlimited access to the world's top documentaries. Just for my viewers, when you use the promo code Pakman, you will get 25% off a subscription, which comes out to only $14.99 per year.